All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah Quitash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth and who rule well in this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and mercy unto you, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, you are for sure and are for certain the true Israelites that the Bible speaks of. All right, you are the true chosen people of the book. All right. So let's get into it, man. I got this article here coming from Natural News. All right. And the title of this article, it reads, "The Coming Famine, Why Millions Will Starve and What You Must Do Now." All right. Now, this is a topic that I always go into, man. All right. Because we are on top of this. All right. We are on top of this famine, man. All right. And this is what we have been prophesying, man. We've been prophesying this unto you, man, for years and years and years and years, man. That a famine is coming, man. That great chaos and hell and death and anguish and mourning and suffering is coming. All right. And that famine, all right, is part of that anguish, that chaos, that mourning and suffering that is coming, man. All right. We have been prophesying unto you this for years, man. And now it's finally here. All right, it's finally here, man. You know, the scriptures say, "Then shall they know a prophet has been among them." Have we not been telling you that famine is coming? A very great time of trouble. I'm talking about a very, very great time of trouble, man. And that famine is part of that very great time of trouble that's getting ready to fall upon you Negroes, you Latinos, and you Native Americans in a very great and grand way. All right. So we're preaching and prophesying, all right, and teaching unto the elect to come back to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai now. All right. Before that door is closed, because it's about to be closed, man. We're right on top of this prophecy. All right. This famine that we have been prophesying unto you, man. And now we're here on top of it. All right. All right, this famine, you know, is going to be so great, all right, that people are going to resort to cannibalism, man. I go into that all the time, man. When you read the book of Baruch, the second chapter says, "A man shall eat the flesh of his own son and the flesh of his own daughter." All right, when you go into the book of Jeremiah, it says, "A man shall eat the flesh of his friend." That's how bad the famine is going to be out here, man. That people are going to start killing each other just so they can eat each other, man. People eating their daughters, their sons. You know? And that's a horrible way to die. All right, by famine, by starvation. You know, the scriptures say it is better to die by the sword than to die of famine. All right, because your body, it literally starts eating itself, man. You know, your body starts eating itself. Stomach acid starts eating you, man. You know, matter of fact, let's get that, all right? Let's get that. That's in the book of Lamentations, all right? The 4th chapter, all right? The 9th verse, all right? Let's get the book of Lamentations, all right? Lamentations 4 and 9. All right. It says, "They that be slain." All right. The word slain means kill or killing, right? It says, "They that be slain," all right, or "they that be killed with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger." That's right. It is better to die by the sword, you know, to be killed than to be killed by hunger, starvation. But this is what's getting ready to come, and we've been prophesying this unto you, man. Week in and week out, we've been prophesying day in and day out, man, for years. Have we not? All right. So, I'm going to get it again. I always get it, man. The book of Baruch, let's get it. We going to keep getting it. It don't matter we sound like a broken record or not, man. All right, I'll start from the top. But the point is in verse 3. All right, it says, therefore, Yahweh has made good his word, which he pronounced against us and against our judges that judged Israel, and against our kings, and against our princes, and against the men of Israel and Judah, to bring upon us great plagues, such as never happened under the whole heaven, as it came to pass in Jerusalem, according to the things that were written in the law of Moses, that a man shall eat the flesh of his own son and the flesh of his own daughter. And that's what's getting ready to happen in this time as well. All right, because there's nothing new under the sun. That happened back in the ancient world. All right, and it's going to happen again. All right, that a man shall eat the flesh of his own son and the flesh of his own daughter. All right, now this is also written in the book of Jeremiah. Let's get it. These are scriptures that I mainly get when I talk about the famine, right? Because it's going to get that bad out here, man. All right, Jeremiah 19:9, it says, and I will cause them to eat the flesh of their sons and the flesh of their daughters, and they shall eat every one the flesh of his friend in the siege and straightness. All right, straightness. All right, the word straight, strait, means a way of difficulty, tribulation. So when this hell and tribulation and anguish and sorrow and misery pops off here in America, all right, people are going to eat the flesh of their friend, your best friend that you grew up with for 40 years, your son, your daughter, your mom, your dad, right? You're going to be looking to kill them. That's how crazy it's going to be out here, man. This is the time, this is the time, this is the type of trouble, the type of chaos, the type of straightness, all right, the type of misery and anguish and sorrow and mourning that the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, is getting ready to bring upon this earth, especially here in America, man. All right? Because the greatest trouble, the greatest misery, the greatest suffering on this planet Earth is going to take place here in America, man. All right? Because of the pride of you people, man. All right? So it says, and I will cause them to eat the flesh of their sons and the flesh of their daughters, and they shall eat every one the flesh of his friend in the siege and straightness, wherewith their enemies and they that seek their lives shall straighten them. All right. So let's go back to this. The book of Esdras. All right. The prophet Esdras. All right. Which he was given some of the greatest visions, man, of all the prophets. He's seen the famine, man. All right. He said, this is the beginning of sorrow, great famine and great death. All right. This famine is for certain and for surety. This famine is coming. We've been telling you, we've been prophesying unto you, and now it's finally here. All right. Just like as we're going to read in this article, right? It says the coming famine. All right. Now, this is this article was published May 9th, all right, 2026, which is today, right? The coming famine, why millions will starve, and what you must do now, all right? When you wacky-tacky Christians, all right, when y'all go to church on Sunday to listen to your wacky-tacky preacher preach, is he telling you about a famine? Is he telling you about the chaos and mourning and suffering and death in anguish that's about to come upon America? No. All right? This is how we know they're not the true prophets and the true servants of the Lord. All right? Because they're not prophesying at all, which means they don't have the spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai on them. All right? Because as the scriptures say, let's get it. All right? That the spirit of the Messiah, all right? No, it says that the testimony of the Messiah, whose true name is Yahweh Shai, right? The testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. All right? So if you're not prophesying, right, you're not testifying of the Messiah. You're not teaching and preaching the Messiah, Yahweh Shai, whom this world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right? So let's get it. This is Revelation 10 and 9. No, matter of fact, Revelation, no, it's not Revelation 10. It's Revelation 19. Let's get it. Revelation 19 and 10. I had it backwards, right? All right, so this is Revelation 19 and 10. All right, it says, and I fell at his feet to worship him. So Apostle John said, I fell at the feet of an angel to worship him. But you're not supposed to worship angels because they're servants, just like we're servants. They serve Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, just like we do. All right. So that's why the angel said, don't worship me. He said, get up. We about to read it right now. It says Revelation 19 and 10. It says, and I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, see thou do it not. You see, I am thy fellow servant. All right. So the angels, all right, they worship and they serve Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai just like we do. They take orders from Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai just like we do, man. Because we do what the Lord commanded us to do. What Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai commanded us to do, man. For example, all right, did not Yahweh Shai say go out to the highways and hedges when he spoke that parable, all right, in Luke the 14th chapter? And that's what we do. We go out to the highways and hedges, man, and compel the elect to come in, that the Lord's house, that Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai's house may be filled, right? So anyway, let's keep reading. It says, Revelation 19 and 10, it says, and I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Right here it says Jesus, but we know that that's not his name. All right, the true name of the Messiah is Yahweh Shai. All right. It said, and only the elect will receive it and have faith in that, man. All right. It says, and thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shai, worship the Most High Yahweh, for the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. All right. So the testimony of the Messiah, whose true name is Yahweh Shai, all right, is the spirit of prophecy. So if you're not teaching these prophecies, right, you're not testifying of whom this world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, whose true name is Yahweh Shai. You're not testifying of the Messiah. All right. Did not the Lord say, speak thou prophecy into the ears of my people? Right? Did not Apostle Paul said, yea, but to rather prophesy? Let's get that, right? But rather prophesy. I think that's how it is, right? Yeah, all right. This is 1 Corinthians, all right? The 14th chapter, the first verse, all right? This is Apostle Paul, all right, speaking to the Israelites that were in Corinth, all right? The Israelite church that was in Corinth, right? It says 1 Corinthians 14 and 1, it says, follow after charity and desire spiritual gifts, but rather that ye may prophesy. Yeah, because that's the most important thing. You know, that's one of the highest positions that you can have is to be a prophet, man, to prophesy. Was not Yahweh Shai, the Messiah himself, a prophet? And the followers of Yahweh Shai would be prophets as well. Duh. Come on, man. So we have been prophesying and teaching you this famine that is coming, and now it's finally here. All right, and now you have people warning you that a famine is coming, but we've been warning you, man. All right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. All right, through the prophecies, man. You know. So it says the warning we cannot ignore. All right, yeah. Have we not been warning you? But you have been scoffing and scorning. Y'all been ignoring us. All right, we know that the elect is not going to ignore us though, because it has always been meant from them from the beginning to take heed to what we're saying. You know, when they hear this word, it's not going to go in one ear and out the other. They're going to hear it, and it's going to soak within them. Right? It says the warning, and the ones that have been scoffing and scorning, right? Making fun of us while we're teaching and prophesying, letting you know that a famine is coming. Y'all talking about, oh, that's not going to happen. Making fun of us. Y'all crazy, right? Y'all crazy. That's what y'all tell. Y'all crazy, right? No famine is coming. People aren't going to starve, right? People are not going to eat their children and their sons and daughters, right? The same ones that's mocking us and making fun of us when we say it, they're going to be the same ones that's going to get caught up in this famine, right? Right? So it says the warning we cannot ignore. It says, I am writing this in May of 2026, all right? And I am not making a prediction. All right, I am issuing, all right, a warning based on hard evidence. Well, you know, people are warning now, all right, that famine is coming based on hard evidence, facts, statistics, right? But we've been warning y'all way before that, man. We've been warning you because we had division, right? We understood the prophecies, right? Before the hard evidence. Because we know through the spirit and power, through the word of the Lord said it, man. And shall it not be done? Come on, man. Right? It says by the end of 2027, if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed due to the war provoked by the Trump administration and its Israeli allies, millions of people will starve to death. Yeah. All right. We've been telling y'all, right? It says this is not a draft. All right. Or it is not a drought or a plague. All right. It is a man-made catastrophe, and it is a man-made catastrophe. All right. This famine is being set up. All right. By this war. And all wars are bankers' wars. Wars are created by the elite bankers. All right, the satanic Illuminati elite Jewish banking families. All wars are bankers' wars. All wars are created by the Rothschilds. When you read a book called The World Order, it's called The World Order by Eustace Mullins. All right, you know, which Eustace Mullins was a historian scholar. He was well studied, man, and he studied at the Library of Congress. All right, in the book he wrote called The World Order, he breaks it down how the Rothschilds, they create the wars, right? A country can't even attack another country unless it is given the green light by the Rothschilds, all right? They have so much power that they even determine the outcome of wars, all right? You know? So this famine that's coming is being engineered. It's being manufactured by the elites through this war. All right? They're going to hit multiple birds with one stone. That one stone being this war, because it's going to bring the famine. It's going to bring the chaos, the civil wars. It's going to bring this third world war, because the whole point is to bring Russia into it, man. To cause this third world war, thus fulfilling Ezekiel the 38th chapter. You know, because Russia getting ready to drop nukes on Israel, man. Through this war. Thus World War III. You know, because once Russia comes into it, because Russia is Iran's allies. And Russia is America's enemy. So when something stupid happens to Iran, guess who getting ready to come? Russia. Thus fulfilling Ezekiel 38, the Third World War prophecy, which we've been prophesying unto you. Right? Come on, man. So it says it is a man-made catastrophe. All right? It says the conflict in the Middle East has blocked the Strait of Hormuz, cutting off 25% of the world's natural gas supply that is essential for fertilizer production. Yeah. All right, let's read that again. It says the conflict in the Middle East has blocked the Strait of Hormuz, cutting off 25% of the world's natural gas supply. Woo! That is essential for fertilizer production. All right. Most people think famine only happens in distant countries, but I will show you why the United States is not immune. All right. And why you need to act now. All right. Of course. All right. Of course, the United States is not immune to it. See, all the people that walk in great pride in this place, right? Because the scriptures talk about it. Revelation, the 18th chapter talks about, America being very prideful, and because of America's pride, all right, it shall see what? Let's get it. All right. All right, let's get it. Revelation 18, right? Because the pride of this place, people walk around like they safe. They walk around, like nothing can happen to this place, right? Oh, this is America. These stupid ass people, man. Right? Let's get it, man. That's why it's going to be beautiful, man, to watch the paleness and the blackness on these people's faces, man, when all this hell and anguish and suffering and mourning and sorrow falls upon this place, man. All right? So let's get it. This is Revelation 18, all right? When you read this chapter, Revelation 18, this entire chapter is talking about America being destroyed, all right? And how it's going to be utterly burnt by fire, all right? And how it's only going to take 1 hour, 60 minutes for America to be destroyed by nuclear destruction, all right? But when you read, let's get it. All right, let's get it. Yeah, all right. I'll start at verse 7. Revelation 18:7. It says, how much she has glorified herself. Talking about America. All right? Because, America's known as what? The most, the most powerful nation, and, this is the land of opportunity, and, you could do anything you want here, and, people talking about this is America, right? How much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Yeah, that's the pride of this place. People think that this place can't see no sorrow, right? Nothing bad can happen. No country's going to attack this place, right? No famine is going to pop off, right? Right? It says, I sit a queen, I am no widow, I shall see no sorrow. Verse 8, therefore shall her plagues come in one day. Death and mourning and famine, right? Famine is getting ready to pop off here in America, right? That's what we're getting into, right? So death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. Talking about the nuclear destruction that's going to hit this place. For strong is the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, all right, who judges her. Yeah, because it's the Lord that's going to judge her and destroy this place, man. All right. And the reason why the Lord rose up America, all right, to be the most powerful nation, right? A nation known as, a great nation, a land of opportunity. The reason why the Lord made America, all right, that country, that most powerful country, so he could show his power when he destroys this place. All right, it tells you that in Romans the 9th chapter. All right, come on, man. So let's go back into this article, right? It says, most people think famine only happens in distant countries, but I will show you why the United States is not immune and why you need to act now. It says, as I have reported repeatedly, all right, the closure has already cut off the flow of fertilizer to the world's most vulnerable nations, right? And the food system is now collapsing in slow motion. Yeah. All right. The Strait of Hormuz, the critical artery for global energy and fertilizer shipments, all right, is effectively closed. All right. It says this is not a temporary supply hiccup. It is a deliberate tremor of a global energy collapse. Every day this conflict continues, adds some calculable, all right, number of deaths in 2027. This is a Holocaust, all right, scaled tragedy that is entirely preventable if the war ends and the ships flow again, right? But that's why Donald J. Trump is doing what he's doing, all right, because he's a puppet. He's getting his orders, all right, from on high, to block the strait, having blockades and Iran having blockades, Everything that these nations are doing is all coming from on high, all right? From the elite bankers, the satanic Illuminati, wicked Jewish elite banking families, right? So let's keep reading. It says how the global food system became a house of cards, all right? Really, we'll read a little more. I don't know if I'm going to read all this, right? It's a lot to go through, right? So let's get it. It says 4 billion people who are living today depend on the Haber-Bosch process that turns natural gas into nitrogen fertilizers, right? Without it, modern agriculture collapses. The Persian Gulf supplies a quarter of the world's natural gas feedstock for fertilizer, and the damage to infrastructure in Qatar, all right, and elsewhere will take years to repair. On March 19, 2026, the CEO of Qatar Energy confirmed that retaliatory strikes had destroyed 2 of Qatar's 14 critical LNG trains, right? This is not a supply chain hiccup. It is a surgical strike on the very architecture that feeds human civilization. See, you can see that this is all being done systematically, because it's like, what are the chances, right? Come on, man. Things are being done, the way things are being done, is all chess moves, man. All right, but it's ultimately the Most High that's doing it, all right? Because we've been prophesying, man. We've been telling you, man, the Lord is visiting this earth now, all right? 2027, if we make it that far, right, is going to be a crazy year, all right? The number 7 in the Bible represents completion, all right? Next year just might be the year that all chaos and hell and death and anger. Listen, man. It's happening now. People are going through it now. Right? It says, and then the nuclear missiles are going to fly, bro. Right? It says, countries like China and Russia have halted fertilizer exports, and the United States is exporting its own oil, all right, and gas at subsidized prices, leaving us exposed in the long run. All right, the triple shock, all right, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, China's export ban and Russia's quota system has already doubled urea prices in the markets. All right. The globalist system of just-in-time supply chains prioritize profit over food security, and now we are paying the price. All right. As I noted in my analysis of the Haber-Bosch house of cards, the single chart which maps our population explosion, all right, directly to synthetic nitrogen fertilizer exposes our fragile suicidal dependency. All right, let's continue reading. It says, from fertilizer to famine, all right, the mechanism you need to understand. It says the relationship between fertilizer reduction and crop yield is non-linear. All right, a 10% drop in fertilizer can cause up to a 30% drop. Let me read that again. It says a 10% drop in fertilizer can cause up to 30% drop in yield for corn and other high demand crops. Actual numbers vary depending on the crop and other conditions. It says our soils are already depleted. Without synthetic inputs, all right, yields plummet and farmers are switching to less nitrogen hungry crops like soybean, all right, which will change our diets. All right. In my interview with Majority Wildcraft, I discussed how the lack of fertilizer will force a shift to home gardening. All right. But most people are not prepared for that. Yeah, because niggas don't even, bro, especially here in America, bro, niggas are so zombified and stupid. Niggas don't even know how to grow, plant a damn seed. Right? They know how to drink some Henny, though. Right? They know how to twerk. Right? Right? Oh, man. It says people are about to bug out, man. People are about to bug out. Right? All right? And we can't wait to watch you people bug out, especially the ones that mocked and scorned. All right? Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Ratazah, I am of the elect. All right? We're going to praise Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. All right? Because we're going to be eating while everyone's starving. The scriptures say we're going to laugh at death and famine. We're going to laugh at the famine and the people that's starving, man. Right? It says this is a slow motion disaster. The effects won't be fully felt until 2027 because of growing seasons. All right. But the scarcity of fertilizer is already baked in. All right. The book Fields of Famine, Americans Coming Food Crisis and the Path to Survival warns that our food supply is more fragile than we think. Yeah, of course. All right. The Lord set it up like that, right? It says highlighting the fragility of global supply chains, all right, and the impact of government policies. The same analysis applies globally, all right? It says the coming famine is not a question of, all right, of if, but when, yeah, all right, because it's prophecy, right? Come on, man. Are we not reading the scriptures and letting you know the prophecies? Right? Who will be hit the hardest and why this affects you? It says Sudan, Yemen, Bangladesh, and India are the front lines. All right. Already, children in Darfur are expected to die from hunger within days. Woo! All right. As famine conditions worsen, Gaza seems to be constantly heading towards famine as bread shortages deepen amid Israeli curbs. But the United States will face soaring food prices. All right. Empty grocery shelves. Yeah. And that's prophecy too. All right. The scriptures say, suddenly the storehouses shall be empty. Woo! Right? Roughly paraphrasing that scripture, right? It says in a wave of bankruptcies between now and the end of 2027. The strategic petroleum reserve is being drained while we export oil, and the cost of borrowing is rising, all right, making it harder for energy companies to maintain wells, right? As Peter Zahan, all right, explains in Disunited Nations, all right, the collapse of energy and trade routes will cascade through the global system. All right. The United States is not immune. Of course not, right? Every day we continue this conflict, all right, adds more death. In 2027, the war must end now, but it's just going to keep escalating, man. All right. Yeah, man. All right. So I'll leave this last paragraph. I'll pause it right here so you can you pause. I'll leave it right here so you can pause it and read it yourself. All right. Lord willing, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Ratazah. All right, this lesson is or was edifying. Call Halayam Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakal Quitash. All right, on to the next one. Shalom, shalom.